Hi there. My name is Julie Ireland, and I am a GTD coach and artist. And the fact that I can say that so kind of seemingly matter of factly, it's kind of a miracle. So this kind of topic we're on here around GTD and creativity and how all of that, you know, interacts and all of the curiosity about that. There's so much to talk about. But what I thought I would uh, share is a bit about my story and how GTD kind of helped me resolve about a 40 plus year open loop and actually got me into my creative expression. So, not without giving you like the long history, I struggled even as a child with creativity, like whatever that means. As a kid, I had to do art classes. It was part of the curriculum, and it was so hard for me. I would see all the other kids playing with paint and just free and making messes and all of that, and I was kind of the kid in the corner going like, mm-mm, mm-mm, nope, 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 not for me. And so I just kind of hung out, in the background as long as I could until probably junior high school when art became not mandatory. So I just, excommunicated myself from the class. And, the thing about all that was that it really created this like ongoing sadness. If you've seen some of my other videos, I talk about my anxiety. It was a little bit like that. It was this sadness that was always with me. And, wanting to kind of explore, art and creativity and things that I was really drawn to, but also just avoiding and resisting like anything. I think I at some point along the line, I had this idea that I really believe to be true, which is that other people are creative, but not me. And it really kept me, certainly from doing anything, creative, artistic, but also really enjoying other people's creativity. I love music. I love art. I love fashion, design. And I was like, no, I'm going to, read this book about economics. And somehow by some, divine intervention, I was introduced to the book The Artist's Way when I was in my 20s by Julia Cameron. And that was a big deal for me. That was like the thing that helped me see that, oh, I'm just resisting this thing and making up all kind of stories. And that book and the exercises was such a catalyst for me, at least, first of all, exploring other people's art and the love of that, and just how much that enriched my life. And it was just wonderful. And yet at the same time, I wasn't really doing anything creative. And that was another open loop. I was curious. It's like, well, if someone else can create that, piece of art, like maybe I can, maybe I can't, but it just was in this land of like, unresolved open loops. And then I was having a conversation with David Allen, and, those bright, if you've ever been close to him, those bright blue, like truth serum elixir eyes. And he looked at me and he's like, well, why don't you just make a project to find a class or something? And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, you have a problem. You have this problem. Like, you're sad because you're not doing anything creative. So make it a project with an outcome that's palatable and a next action. And of course, I was like mortified. I was like, I could teach, I could learn, I could do what I'm teaching. And so I did that. I created a project, and I think, so terrified about this that I didn't make the project to find the class. I made the project something like, explore classes, like, low barrier to commitment. And that led me to a next action and a next action and next action, which finally led me to this wonderful magical place in LA called Playful Art Studio. the woman who runs the business, her name is Helen Bradley. She teaches creative expression. She doesn't call it art. It's like creative expression via the artist way, which I was already familiar with. And that was just an amazing kind of a synergy for me. And I remember I walked into the first class. It was like an 8-week class, and she had a studio with these easels set up. And I was like, I saw the easels and I was like, I'm leaving, like abort the mission. And she was like, it's okay, it's okay. She kind of got me started on these like little baby 4-inch by 4-inch canvases, which I could like doodle on, just doodle. Like, it was like this amazing way of just little microscopic steps, no big commitments. And, that led me to just, this kind of like the next chapter of my life, which was being willing to explore my creativity, not make it into this big thing. And she did these 8-week classes. I kept re-signing up. And then at one point, I walked into the studio and she took me from 4-inch by 4-inch canvases to like 6 feet by 4 feet canvases. And it was like, that's something that all of a sudden I could just explore, and she made it fun, and it made it easy. And it really, really, it's hard to explain like how different my life is now. And it was really that one, like that willingness to just create a project about it. I was curious enough, it's like, maybe there's something out there that's fun, which led me to that, which led me to my own current iteration of that. So, I can really say wholeheartedly with like absolute conviction that that conversation with David, just making a project, was really life-changing for me. So, I encourage you, if there's anything you're curious about and you're resistant to, but there's more curiosity than resistant, make it a project. You don't have to commit to anything other than an exploration. But I find that just being a little bit willing to do that can lead to who knows what. So I hope this helps. Always feel free to leave a comment, and thanks for watching.